Wordle, the game that's sweeping the internet. Once you've played a few rounds of Wordle and have the knack of the Wordle game, you're probably going to want to improve your game a little, especially if it doesn't involve much effort. We've got 5 tips in this short video or podcast that will help you do just that. Hey guys, I'm Mary Schaefer from AP Now with another how-to Wordle video. We've got 30 of them, but let's get started on this one right now. Okay, our first tip involves inference. So when you're in your second or third round, you can infer certain things about certain letters without ever having to enter them. So for example, if you've knocked out the letter U, then you know it can't be a Q. So don't worry about guessing Q words. If you know the second letter is, let's say, a W, um, then you have a good shot that the first letter is a vowel. Okay, just using some common sense. If you have no vowels, if you've eliminated A, E, I, O, and U, don't despair. Then you know that there must be a Y in the word. We've had 2 examples of that recently. Once the word was nymph, M-Y-M-P-H, and another time, and this was in Quirtle, not in Wordle, but the answer was slyly, S-L-Y-L-Y. So don't think there's something wrong with the game. If you don't get a vowel, you can't find a vowel, there's something else. Okay, tip number 2. Avoid what I call the obvious Wordle mistakes. We all make them. Okay, sometimes we'll repeat a letter that we know is not in there just because maybe we're rushing or we're not paying as close enough attention. Going back to the Q and the U, sometimes once we know there's not a U, we'll still repeat the Q. So don't make the obvious mistakes, okay, because that kind of chips away at the speed at which you'll win. Okay, the next one is I call it the role of plurals. You want to avoid plurals as your guess, as the word, because we know for a fact that Wordle has not included plurals in any of its final solutions. Now, this doesn't mean, by the way, the answer can't end in an S. There are plenty of words, glass, class, for example, that end in an S but are in plurals. So some of your guesses may have an S in at the end, especially in the beginning, just when you're trying to identify letters and figure out where letters go. But remember, the final answer the final solution, if you will not be a plural. Okay, before we get to the last 2, if you like this episode, please give us a thumbs up. And if you loved it, please subscribe. We produce new content for this channel 3 times a week. Tuesdays and Thursdays are devoted to payment and accounts payable issues, and Saturday are spaved for Wordle. And speaking of Wordle, let's talk about the Wordle untouchables. So these are the letters that are least popular or least likely to appear in a word. And we want to avoid what I call the untouchables in the first or second round, sometimes even the third round, because we want to focus on letters that are more apt to appear. So what are these letters in lack of popularity order? Q, J, Z, X, V, and K. Okay, again, they can be in the final solution, but they're less likely to be, so we want to kind of save them for the end. Okay, and then our last intermediate tip. Sometimes time is limited. At the end of the day, we don't have a half an hour to sit around and try and work out the Wordle solution. Maybe we only have 5 minutes, but we want to get that game in because it'll disappear. If you're like me, that's frequently. So what you want to do is have a set of hack words that you always use, maybe your first and second, maybe even first, second, and third word to get your game going. Now, if you want to take a deeper dive into using hack words, we did a separate video on that issue. You can watch it right now using the link that will appear momentarily on YouTube, and it is in the show notes below. As always, we appreciate your thumbs up, your shares, your comments, and your subscribe. Good luck and happy Wordling.